Welcome back to March Malcontent, Episode 9. We're going to start off with Ice Climbers against Sonic. In case anybody has forgotten, losing this match means you lose your place in the tournament. Winning this match does not guarantee you a place, however it does... Well, the Ice Climbers seem to be freaking out there. Winning this match does keep you in the running for a place in the tournament. So, now you know what's truly at stake here. The second Ice Climber seems to be having a really hard problem keeping up this game. Normally it's actually a good strategy for Ice Climber players to do what they call a desync, which is where the Ice Climbers are desynchronized from each other. There's a whole bunch of ways to do it, some of them on purpose, some of them on accident. The main benefit being that once you get two characters who attack at different times, you basically have a lot of freedom to decide what you want to do and when. For instance, if you jab as the Ice Climbers, they both swing their hammers at the same time, whereas if you could coordinate them to cover each other's weaknesses, you would have a much stronger character on your hands. Now, they did just beat Sonic, and they're effectively at 0. Okay, they just got hit, but they're relatively unpunished, so that's already a great start for them this match. The second Ice Climber actually seems to have gotten picked up partway through the attack there. That's a little odd, but certainly it does happen a lot with the Ice Climbers. The Ice Climbers, of course, have the white snowsuit coloration just because it makes it harder for human players to tell which one is the lead climber, especially in instances like that where you can see the camera zoomed in and hid the little FP marker above the lead climber's head. In Smash Ultimate, they made it so that on half the skins, Nana is the first Ice Climber and Popo is the second Ice Climber, as opposed to how it's normally the opposite. So that can also confuse opponents, especially considering that their voice cues are no longer a consistent measure of determining which Ice Climber your opponent is actually controlling. Interesting, going after Sonic instead of saving the other Ice Climber. Ice Climber number 2, however, seems to have made it back to the stage. That wasn't an up smash. Well, okay, it was an up smash, but it was a late hit, so it didn't kill Sonic. But he's still at death's door. Going off stage, they throw some icicles, doesn't connect, and Sonic makes it back. That's a very brutal angle to get sent at. Sonic has a really good recovery, and he had his jump, of course, so he was able to make that back. He really does need to separate these Ice Climbers. It looks like for the majority of this match, Ice Climber number 2 has taken a lot more damage than Ice Climber number 1. Yep, you can see there, number 2 finally died. So the individual Ice Climbers do actually have their own separate percentage. You only ever actually see the percentage for Ice Climber number 1. Something else that makes it more complicated is that Ice Climber 2 specifically is programmed to take more knockback, sends them a little farther away, basically to make sure that the characters can be separated at some point. Third stock, and the only thing that Sonic has to show for it... Sorry, Sonic is on his third stock. Only thing he has to show for it is he's deprived the Ice Climbers of one of their Ice Climbers, but none of their stocks yet. So you could effectively think of it as he's only taken half a stock off of them. It is a little bit more challenging than that, just because the Ice Climbers with 2 Ice Climbers are much more useful than the singular Ice Climber. If anything, I'd maybe do it a 1/4, 3/4 ratio, where having Nana and Popo is, well, of course, 100% of the character, but once you lose Nana, or usually the second Ice Climber, I should say, then you have about 25% of your character left. Your recovery goes essentially nowhere, your moves hit half as hard, if that, since you're not having the second hammer in there. A lot more things become more unsafe, less punishing. Sonic did finally kill an Ice Climber, but he still has 2 stocks to make up, and based off of how the rest of this match is going, I don't think his chances are that good. Especially when you have the 1 stock to 2 stock deficit, you can't just make a crazy play and steal out a victory. You need to do that twice. And you... Oh, wait. Alright, Ice Climbers lost one of their Ice Climbers. They're Basically, now what they're playing for is they need to get as much damage on Sonic as possible so that when their last stock kicks in... Oh, footstool! Oh no, Sonic makes it back with the spring. The Ice Climbers need to use damage to Sonic so they can kill him after they respawn. Up B recovery does not make it, and they do not land into the spring. Alright, this is actually, surprisingly, all of a sudden a mostly fair match. Sonic is only starting just a little bit behind the Ice Climbers. Maybe he can pull out another shenanigans in order to get a quick victory. Well, that's kind of what he has to do. He's only about 20%, 18% behind. 10%? Hey, it keeps changing. I'm going to stop that. He is a little bit behind, but he also had a really hard time with the Ice Climbers when there were two of them. That time Sonic only got one of the Ice Climbers, not both. It is valuable to hit them. However, if you only get one of them, then there's usually a pretty good chance the second one's going to hit you with their enormous wooden hammers that they use to aid in their climbing efforts. Ice Climbers make it back on stage. Sonic probably should have, in retrospect, gone after the secondary Ice Climber just to keep them separated and therefore keep them less powerful. But he did not, and now he has to deal with his choices. Sonic went with a tech roll there. It's a little weird because he tech rolled into the ledge of the platform, so he didn't actually change his physical position. Sonic hits a footstool on the Ice Climber, but that just sends him back on stage. Ice Climbers, both of them are making it back. It wouldn't be impossible for them to win if they were to lose one of the climbers right about now, and it looks like they're going to. So it is now a lot harder. They're really hoping to hit a smash attack before Sonic can auto-heal most of his percent back. That sends Sonic low, but he's going to be able to make it. They go for an aerial instead of a smash attack. Send him right back off stage. And Sonic has now made it back on stage. Back throw. Ice Climbers, yep, they need the early Squall Hammer to make it. Sonic went with a down tilt instead of a kill option. He kind of threw the win right there. Ice Climbers make it back using only their jump. Up tilt, restoring Sonic's percent, but not quite killing with the up air. And they're just kind of dancing around each other now. Basically, whoever gets the first kill hit wins. It's not as bad for Sonic, even though Ice Climbers is at about 70. He could have gotten them off stage and gone for an edge guard, but instead he got killed first. Sonic's out of the tournament this year. Our next match has been brought to you by the letter I. We have Ivysaur against Inkling. Ivysaur is a Pokemon Trainer amiibo. It's going to start as Ivysaur, but it's going to switch between the Pokemon as the match goes on. Nothing you can do about it. Looks like they're going to be on Pictochat, a stage that the main base is lower centered than most other stages would be, so the blast zones are really close on the bottom and really far on the top. And they're not especially wide on the sides. Ivysaur, as Charizard, got hit by way more of that than he probably needed to. Almost got a good edge guard against Inkling, but Inkling's recovery is very high. Makes it really hard to punish. It goes with Inkling's aerials. Come out decently fast, but they have a lot of lag at the end of them. So you only get to use maybe one or two of them off stage before you have to recover. Which, thankfully, you can do because your recovery goes so large. It does also mean as a side effect that if you use them landing on an opponent, they're usually pretty safe. However, it's a little bit to Inkling's detriment because of the higher up, lower blast zones. Having a very long distance recovery on this stage doesn't particularly help. You basically need strictly horizontal recovery. Characters with large vertical recovery can kind of cheat out horizontal recovery by drifting into the stage and then recovering from low. Oh, Ivysaur should have let that go. It would have been great. So you drift in and then use your high recovery when you're really far low to cheat out some horizontal distance. But if there's a blast zone there, you suddenly can't do it. The second forward tilt not connecting. But the third forward tilt did. And you know what they say, third forward tilt's the charm. up throw that's not going to kill Inkling. The Charizard's up throw is actually pretty strong. It wasn't going to kill it like 60%. However, since it does bring you off the top of the screen before slamming you back down, if there's any platforms above you, you can use that to get some extra vertical distance. That was a really weird flare blitz there. That one was a lot less weird, but you do need to use your jump in order to make it back. Playing in the corner, throws Charizard off stage. He hits Inkling with that one as well, putting him at 2 for 3 flare blitzes. The up smash is going to kill him, though. That's a little interesting. I never heard the Pokemon Trainer do that before. Well, maybe I have, and I just haven't noticed. That Squirtle got buried by the roller, and Pokemon Trainer had some helpful advice of, well, in this case it was wake up. But I don't know if you've ever seen a Pokemon fight. If you just tell your Pokemon to not get hit by anything and to KO the opponent, you could be the best trainer in the world. At least in the TV show, that's how it seems to go. Not so much in the actual games. There's very little that the Pokemon trainers actually add to any given Pokemon fight. They're mostly just picking their Pokemon's moves, which wild Pokemon can do on their own. I guess they wouldn't be trained by a Pokemon trainer, but still, I would think in general having to do what someone tells you to instead of... Usually if you get to pick on your own, you should be faster because you don't need to listen to them. Would make it a more effective system. But then you want to get to play the Pokemon game, so... I can't believe that down smash connected. That's gonna end that match right there and then. Ivysaur is not gonna make it into the tournament. Inkling, we'll see. And here we've got Joker against Dark Samus. This is gonna be the last match of this set of the pre-qualifiers. Shulk, in case you did not remember, he made it, but there wasn't an opponent for him, so he got a bye. So he gets to keep fighting without having to keep fighting. It sounds confusing, but basically he went up against an imaginary opponent who forfeited. That way the math would work out. These two, however, don't have that luxury. They need to, if any of them is going to make it into the tournament, they need to win this match, and then the next set will be starting with fewer competitors because many of them have perished along the way, and they will need to win that next match as well. It will go over that when the time comes, which will be basically at the start of the next match. Alright, Joker needs to get his revenge against Samus. Adequately so, bounces her off the bottom of that triangle bouncer thingy. Aegon, if you don't know, is a move that does basically 1% when you land it, but it does 10% over time. So it does do full damage. The damage over time effect is a little weird in that it doesn't really affect that much. You can think of it as a traditional poison effect in an RPG, but since it's only by about 10% of a difference, you're going to land the move, and then if you hit the opponent immediately after, technically they won't get launched as far as they normally would. It would make a lot more sense if the move did, let's say, 20% damage, or 40%, or 40% would be absolutely broken, by the way, so that's never going to happen. 20% already is also pretty severe. But if it was a much larger percentage, then needing it to be applied over time does make more sense. Also interestingly is that Smash Bros. Already has a damage over time effect. When a character has a flower over their head, it's an effect you'll only know if you play with items or if you land a whole bunch of Jigglypuff's rests. The flower on your head does deal damage over time. It does get a little bit more complicated in that you can try to basically mash your controls to shake the flower off faster. Big flowers take longer to fall off than small flowers. So, in effect, as long as you're not just standing in place and taking it, you can get it off at some point. And even then, if you do nothing, it will eventually fall off on its own. I do understand that for the theming of Joker's character, it would be a little weird if he used his, what is effectively a dark elemental persona energy blast, and it puts a flower on your head. Theming wise, the damage over time definitely makes a lot more sense, especially for the upgraded version when Joker has Arsene. It probably does mess up some of the damage calculations, but that's just Smash Brothers for you. Dark Samus went for a low-angled down smash there. It didn't connect with Joker, but if he had tried any sort of fancy get-up option, it definitely could have hit him. Joker getting an up air chain on Dark Samus, doesn't get a third one to land. Joker's at a much higher percent, a lot more will spell his end right now, especially since Dark Samus does have that... Never mind! Joker just hit a killer combo at the very end with Arsene, able to stick his way into more of the pre-qualifiers. Next up, we have Toon Link against Captain Falcon. This is the next stage of the preliminaries, which means that the winner of this match will be making it to the tournament. The loser will not be immediately eliminated, but they will have to keep competing. We'll go over those matches at a later date. Only other thing you should know is that Wario got the bye this round, so Wario will actually be making it into the tournament. Each time whenever I predict which amiibos will go up against each other, I don't actually choose, I just get a random number generator to pick for me, which is, first of all, easier, but second of all, it means that there's going to be no fixed seating. Oh, wow, that is a very unfortunate move by Toon Link, down airing past the ledge to his death. So, the fixed seating, essentially, if you were to make a tournament and decide who were to go up against each other, it would be possible to get certain people to compete against other people in a way that would be beneficial towards one particular party. One way this is most commonly done is that a very high-ranked player, or team, or whatever organizations are fighting against each other in the tournament. A very high ranking can be set against a very low ranking with the assumption that the higher ranked player will win and will therefore guaranteed make it to the final stage of the tournament. This is called bracket fixing and it's frowned upon, but at the same time in most fighting game communities, it is a widely accepted and utilized practice. The idea behind it is that they want the top finalists to make it to the end to have the most exciting or usually income-generating battles. Great throw timing from Captain Falcon there, by the way. It avoided the hitbox from the bomb. When you're throwing people, you do get some brief invincibility to make it effectively possible to throw people, especially in large, confusing matches with multiple players in it. But back to bracket fixing, it's not a practice I personally condone. However, it's still very popular because it makes people money and it encourages high-ranking competitors to go to tournaments because they know they're going to have an easier time. And they're also going to make more money themselves because usually top competitors are given money based off of their ranking in the tournament. I would say it's probably actually toxic for the community as a whole, for no other reason then if anybody wants to join the community, which should actually be a benefit for any community who does tournaments to have, they are going to be set against the probably top player in the world and get their trash kicked because there is just such a wide skill gap between going to your first tournament and having attended 50 of them. Wow, a lot of moves came out from from both competitors actually right there. Really fast. So it would be, I would say, unfortunate for anyone to engage or participate in bracket fixing, which is why I don't. It's actually a shame since all our competitors are amiibos. Oh wow, that's already the end of the match. Since all of our amiibos are competitors, in theory I could and get away with it because real lives would not be hurt, but it's not something I want to go along with. Wow, that match was one conversation. Next we have Sephiroth against Kazuya. Now these characters are similar, first of all, in nature. Definitely not people who you could morally align with. But I also mean in terms of Smash Brothers, these two amiibo usually do very well against other amiibo. Something about their luck this year, however, it's kept them in the running this far, but it hasn't gotten them a qualification placing yet, which is a little peculiar. Now, it's still possible that both of them can make it to the tournament. They've both obviously won a round in the last match, so it is something that they can do. Just based off of how they usually perform, though, I would have expected them to make it before now, basically. I will say that currently as this match is going, it looks like Kazuya is having a hard time getting past Sephiroth's incredibly long sword. Now, Kazuya is definitely a character who can come out of nowhere and kill you. He has a lot of heavyweight characteristics, including the weight and hard-hitting hitboxes. When he hits about 100%, as you can see he just did, like 20 seconds ago, he goes into Rage mode. It's different from the Smash Brothers Rage. They unfortunately share the same name. But that means his attacks will be doing additional damage. And if he gets any sort of throw on you, he gets a really powerful super throw. Getting the super throw does lose his Rage drive, but he doesn't get to keep that forever anyway. Oh, you can see it's actually currently gone at the moment. Sephiroth dropping... Okay, Sephiroth had skewered the stage, and he can usually jump out of that. Well, he can normally jump out of that, but instead of jumping out, he opted to drop and then grab the stage with his arms normally. It actually saved him there, because Kazuya probably would have hit him with something. Poor move from Kazuya. He got a great tech, but then he went for a neutral B. It's probably among the least useful of projectiles that exist. You can see there, Sephiroth actually used his down B counter Scintilla, but he still got hit by Kazuya anyway. That is a risky run with the move. It's effectively the worst counter in the game, even if it does have certain upsides. It still is a counter, so I can't say it's completely useless, especially for a character like Sephiroth, who has a harder time for characters who get in close. It's probably why they had to design the counter such as they did, in that if it was any better, Sephiroth would be an absolutely infuriating character to go against. And also, it still is a counter, so it will kill you from time to time. I know I just claimed it was probably the worst, and what makes a move good or bad, I guess, is relative. Kazuya off stage, but he manages to air dodge through Sephiroth's sword. Grabs the ledge twice, not normally a good idea. Sephiroth goes for the... He has to go for the full extension of his up B. So there's two different versions of it. There's the one that does just a single slash, and then there's the one that does the octo slash with the 8 different slashes. If you go for the 8 different slashes, it doesn't grab the ledge as fast. And against a character like Kazuya, who has some super armor on some of his smash attacks, alongside the lighter version of tough guy armor, which probably has its own name now that I think about it. Kazuya is definitely a character who can... And he just killed Sephiroth! Congratulations, Kazuya. You made it into the tournament. Here we've got Wii Fit Trainer against Greninja. Looks like we're going to be in the Fire Emblem Coliseum. This is hazards off, so the format of the platforms will not be changing. However, we are going to be stuck with this platform layout for the remainder of the match. So that's something to watch out for. You would think that with hazards off you just get a flat terrain, but that would actually be more boring if I can be honest. Not that this platform layout, especially since it's not on any other stage, I would consider especially boring, but you already have the option in the game to make any stage in Omega form, which is the Final Destination mode, which is effectively a flat, long platform. So if this stage was also a flat, long platform without hazards, that would effectively be one less stage you get. Instead, they gave us what is effectively 4 stages, so that's pretty cool. Even if it's not technically tournament viable, so you're probably not going to be seeing it in a tournament. Aside from a tournament like this, where we encourage such things. Unfortunately, we couldn't really justify the inclusion of items. Some of them are just too powerful to determine a winner based off of skill. It is a shame because I think that's usually when Smash Brothers is its most fun. But if nothing else, this might serve as a catalyst to slowly drive the community towards accepting item-capable tournaments. As long as you don't put $10,000 of money on the line, it's really not that bad of a thing. But once you get people whose career is based off of making money from winning matches of skill, then any element of randomness will get shut down really quick, because competitive players do not like anything that does not go their way consistently. Not to, you know, harp on them too much. You know, we are part of the same Smash Brothers community. Don't want to just start throwing insults left and right. Oh, Greninja went for a forward air instead of an up air after that up air. If he'd gone for a second up air, he probably could have gotten a couple more. Or if nothing else, launched Wii Fit Trainer airborne and then gone for, I don't know, an up smash. But he did not. Greninja's forward air is a move to watch out for in that it hits hard, and it's kind of timed with some of his other moves so that he can combo into it. But it takes a little bit to come out. Greninja is definitely one of the fast type characters who focus on getting a lot of hits in on their opponent and then finishing them off. So in order for him to have a forward air that's as strong as it is, it would have to have some sort of downside. In this case, it's not being able to use it absolutely whenever he feels like it. You need to have the time to make it come out. Basically, you need to premeditate your forward air. The second forward smash gets Greninja. He was facing the wrong way, so it's not going to kill. Playing by the ledge, Wii Fit Trainer hits the jab combo. Unfortunately, it was on a shield. Wii Fit Trainer gets that tech, though, up B's anyway, kind of losing valuable time with which to maybe edgeguard Greninja. The down air actually hit before the up smash did. That was pretty huge for Wii Fit Trainer. Gets Greninja off stage, does not hit him with the power of the sun. However, something cool about the Sun Salutation Orb is that if you launch a fully charged version of it, your character heals just a little bit. So, Wii Fit Trainer is not going to be dominating the metagame because of having the rare ability to heal your character. Because after you fully charge the projectile and launch it, you only heal like 2%. Which is not enough to usually save your life. However, it is a cool trait that the move has, especially since Wii Fit Trainer is kind of the embodiment of healthcare and fitness. It's kind of cool that one of your moves actually increases your lifespan. Even if it's hardly ever going to be specifically noticeable. Although it does also mean that if you ignore a Wii Fit Trainer for 30 seconds, they might heal like 15 or 20%, and that does start getting more substantial. Greninja not doing great right now. I mean, obviously he's getting edge guarded. That forward air isn't going to kill him. He jumps over the Sun Salutation, and he does make it on stage, and he gets karate chopped in the face. I get maybe his foot stomped on. Either way, Wii Fit Trainer is going to be moving on. Alright, for this match, we're going to have Snake against Squirtle. The kind of matchup you'd normally expect to see in some sort of nature documentary. Alright, looks like we're going to be on the Minecraft stage. There aren't any breakable blocks. Okay, there are breakable blocks on this stage, but this is, again, the hazardless version. So we're not going to have those. The Minecraft stage actually has a couple of different layouts normally, which, for, I guess, the purposes of this tournament, mostly just affects the platform layout. Charizard goes for a Fire Breath on the Nikita. I guess it did disencourage Snake to continue controlling it. If you hit the missile, it loses its hitbox, and Snake can't control it for just a little bit. I was actually a little surprised that Squirtle, as Charizard, was able to make that back. Especially because Fire Breath is typically a rather laggy move, but I guess he may have just discovered new tech. He did also just Flare Blitz into the stage, though. So Flare Blitz deals you damage if you use the move, and if you hit something, it deals an extra 5%. So if you hit something with it, that's a total of 10%. which is to make up for the fact that the move is so powerful, and that's actually how the move works in Pokemon as well. It's a strong move, but if you land it, you do take some recoil damage. Squirtle not able to hit the Nikita with a hitbox before he rams into it with his body, so it does explode on him. Snake with a very poorly spaced down smash. He was pushed away by the entirety of Ivysaur's grab. I understand the urgency to want to use something out of shield, but in that case it just didn't work. And he got clipped by the end of the forward air. Weird recovery from Squirtle. He takes a weak hit of the dash attack as punishment, I suppose. Off stage, but he withdraws the move is called withdraw. So I guess the terminology might be misleading when I say he keeps offensively doing it. They are dancing on top of Snake's C4. I don't know if you as the viewer can see it, but it's that little speck in the middle of that wool square. Ah, yep, Snake tried to blow it up on Charizard, but Charizard saw it coming. That is something that's, if you're ever struggling playing against Snake players, they'll plant their C4 and assume you'll forget about it, but if you don't forget about it, you can usually bait out, like you can try to get them to blow it up on you even though you're clearly not planning on running into it. There's a couple of mind games you can do with it. Oh, down air, not enough to break Snake's Cypher, and he does get a little bit of armor during the move, so Squirtle wasn't able to hit him out of that either. I guess it did get him some free percent, but normally you would prefer to go for the edge guard. Snake with a parry up tilt. That is going to take Squirtle's second stock. Ivysaur dangerously goes for an early forward air. He even landed on Snake's D4. Then he killed him with an up air, so I guess it all worked out pretty well for him in the end, but it didn't work out in a way that I would normally... Charizard air dodged through that? That's usually so hard to do. Ooh, Charizard did land that Flare Blitz. It is a punishing move when you actually get it to land. Gets put off stage, he can recover. He get-up attacks, which puts him in the perfect range for the missile. Unfortunate for Charizard. Snake goes for a taunt. Unfortunate, but Squirtle actually got hit by the cardboard box there. It's not a very threatening move. It's, you know, primarily a taunt after all. But it does have that little hitbox there, which is kind of funny. Snake goes for Nikita when he had no way of hitting Squirtle. He does get hit by an upwards waterfall. And funny enough, you don't always see the Squirtle win screen, because usually people like to close out matches with Charizard, so I guess that's a gift for you today. And for the last match of this video, we have Palutena against Inkling. Goddess against a child, I know. Alright, looks like we're going to be on the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 stage. I forget what the stage is actually called in the game. I'll put that up on the screen now. Because personally, I know that the creature thing in the middle is that apparently he's nicknamed Gramps. So I just internalized it as, oh, this is the stage where they fight on Gramps. Xenoblade Chronicles has a lot of lore, and it's a lot to keep up with. And especially since I plan to eventually play the games, I have decided to not spoil myself on any of it, even though there are things that I've heard about over time. I also know that the game's like 140 hours long, so even if I've heard about one or two things, it won't spoil the whole plot. That being said, though, that some of the elements in Smash Bros. Are apparently very spoilerific. But it still doesn't mean the games can't be enjoyable. I hope. I mean, I guess I've never played them myself, so I cannot confirm or deny their enjoyability, but I always hear good things about them, so they have that going for them. Alright, that up smash is not going to kill Palutena. But that down smash does, surprisingly. Usually down smashes don't hit as hard because they have benefits over your other smash attacks, such as hitting on both sides of you. Oh, Palutena's up smash lasting just long enough to hit Inkling out of her forward smash. That platform over there is actually a little bit smaller than most other platforms usually are, So it does make for slightly more cramped quarters. It's not as much of a problem on, this stage, since you effectively have the long, if slightly curved platform working for you. So this stage definitely doesn't feel like you don't have enough room to move around on. Oh, Palutena actually makes that back. It can be a little tough to see once the players get below the cloud layer. Kind of harkens back to the old days of, if anybody's played Super Smash Bros. Melee, they didn't have water physics in that game, but a couple of stages did have water. So your character would fall beneath the water, and you would have a harder time seeing them. Now, for Smash Ultimate, whenever you go down below the cloud layer, you do at least get a silhouette of your character so that you can actually see them. And that's nice. Oh, an up air that high. Okay, it didn't kill Inkling. I guess this stage has a little bit higher of an upper blast zone than I was expecting. Ooh, they had I think Inkling was using a jab. They had some moves clash right there. It's always tricky to know because you never know who's going to get out of the clash first. You can guess based off of what move you used and what move you think they used. That up smash isn't going to kill either, but Palutena is now covered in a layer of ink. Oh, wow, Palutena barely missed the stage there. She gets spiked to her death. That's it for this video. Be sure to watch all the other videos, of course. We are getting closer and closer to the actual tournament.